President Donald Trump plans on signing an executive order addressing police reform, and he plans on doing that tomorrow. So Paula Reid is at the White House standing by to give us a few more details. So what do we know about this executive order? What's it going to entail?
And Marie, so far the only component of this executive order that the White House has confirmed is the idea that they want to emphasize co-responders for police. So that would be social workers or mental health professionals who can respond to incidents alongside the police to try to de-escalate situations before they spiral out of control and result in violence. Now, the president confirmed late last week that he was finalizing this executive order. At that time, he talked about the possibility of having social workers work alongside police, and he also emphasized de-escalation techniques. If you've studied the investigations into Ferguson, Baltimore, Chicago police departments, it becomes quite evident that often the use of force training, de-escalation training that police officers receive, it can be shockingly minimal. They're not often given a lot of the tools that they need to go out and deal with these situations. So that's something the president says that he wants to emphasize. But again, we haven't seen anything in writing. Tomorrow, though, the president is expected to sign this executive order in a Rose Garden ceremony. He is also expected here at the White House tomorrow to meet with the families of black men and women who either have been targeted by allegedly racially motivated violence by civilians or violence by police.
Paula, President Trump, as you know, is also preparing to hold his first campaign rally since the start of the coronavirus outbreak. It was originally planned for Friday in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but was rescheduled to Saturday amid concerns that it coincided with the Juneteenth holiday. How is the campaign, Paula, addressing the potential spread of coronavirus at the event? I note that the president has tweeted that the far-left fake news media had no COVID problem with rioters and looters, is trying to COVID shame us on our big rallies. Won't work. To point out, just for the record, that the media, including this network and others, continuously pointed out the danger that demonstrators and protesters were putting themselves in with regards to COVID-19, which has not gone away. So I'm just wondering how the campaign, I guess, based on the president's tweet, they're not concerned about it, even though they're asking people to sign a waiver, Paula?
That's right. Well, let's go to the health professionals. The health department director in Tulsa, he expressed concern on Saturday about the city's ability to keep attendees and even the president safe, because right now Tulsa is reporting its highest daily increase in the number of cases, and they're attributing that spike to large indoor gatherings. That's also why you see Republican lawmakers trying to downplay any idea that this will help spread COVID, because the president believes that these large-scale events, these are key to his path to re-election. As you noted, though, the campaign appears to be acknowledging there is at least some threat, because everyone who attends this rally or replies desiring to attend this rally, they are required to submit a waiver agreeing not to sue the campaign if they get COVID. Now, our White House producer, Finn Gomez, he is reporting that, in fact, this event that was supposed to be one big event is now going to be two large events across two different venues after they received a lot more RSVPs than they were expecting or that their original venue could even hold. Now, as you noted, though, they've already moved this back once, and we're waiting to see if they sort of bow to public pressure to maybe delay this event even further.
You know, the president's previous rallies and his speeches at previous rallies, I think there were always sort of constant themes about how well the stock market is doing or the economy is doing, the fake news media and the various other critics attacking his other critics, whether it's Democrats or whatever. But since then, a lot has happened in this country. The country is dealing with three major crises, right? Coronavirus, the current unrest over racial injustice, and of course the economy and the unemployment rate. It's a very different America that the president is going to be speaking about. I'm wondering, do we have any indication what his speech will entail?
Yeah, so on each of those crises, as you laid out, on COVID, the president is returning to the campaign trail in an effort to signal to the country that he believes we are back to normal, even though cities like the one he's holding this rally in are seeing spikes in cases. When it comes to the economy, officials say they want to try to convince voters that President Trump is really the only one who can get America back on track. They argue that the economic record from the previous few years of his administration speak to his ability to steer the economy and to bring it back to where it was pre-COVID. Now, they also believe that in the current civil unrest that they are seeing, they see opportunity. They argue, one senior campaign official tells CBS News that the defund the police movement is a, quote, massive gift for the Trump campaign. And they cite polls that show the majority of Americans do not support defunding the police. Now, you and most of your viewers know that defunding the police does not necessarily mean defunding and taking away all of the money from the police. But the Trump campaign believes that that slogan, that branding, will really help them establish the president as someone who can help reform police without completely defunding them. Now, they also want to try to cast former Vice President Joe Biden as an establishment figure. They tell CBS News that they want to craft President Trump as an agent of change, someone who came to the quote-unquote swamp to change Washington's ways of doing things. Now, if you look at how this administration has enacted a lot of its policies, who it's hired, what it's done, oftentimes it does look very similar to previous administrations, but there are things the president does that are unusual. He has been able to roll back certain trade deals. He has been able to do new things, and that's really what they want to try to sell, is this contrast between him and the former vice president. The Trump campaign argues that Biden doesn't necessarily have a base like the president does, and instead they believe that Biden supporters are really just anti-Trump. And they believe all of this works in their favor, and that's what the president is going to try to capitalize on during these large events.
Paula, in an interview yesterday, White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow addressed the $600 unemployment payments created by the CARES Act, which are scheduled to stop at the end of July. Kudlow said that the White House is looking at ways to provide incentives for people to return to work. So what are you hearing that might look like?
So there's been a lot of different options floating around. As Anne-Marie noted earlier, the economy has really been hit quite hard by coronavirus. There have not, however, been a lot of really concrete solutions to specifically address that beyond the phase 3 stimulus that the White House and Congress put forth a couple months ago. Some of the ideas that they put forward, if they cut that $600 unemployment, that top off, they've talked about a payroll tax cut. Now, this is something the president has touted for a long time, but they believe that it will help not only those folks who return to work, but also employers. But a payroll tax cut does not address those who are currently unemployed, the tens of millions of Americans who are now without work. They've also talked about reducing capital gains. So that's any money you make from selling an investment or selling a property. They believe this is part of a holistic approach to stimulating the economy. But again, you come back to the question of how does reducing capital gains help the majority of people who are impacted by COVID, which are those people who make under $40,000 a year, not necessarily people who have a large stock portfolio. Now, they've also talked about tax credits, different tax credits to encourage folks to go out, to eat in restaurants, even to travel the U.S. There's also been talk about potentially giving a bonus payment to people who go back to work. But a lot of these are targeted towards tax incentives and towards people who have a job to go back to, when a lot of the economic research suggests that a significant percentage of the people who have lost their jobs, that their jobs may be gone for good. And right now, the White House has not put out any concrete solutions to really help those people get new jobs. But White House officials tell me they are focused this time on stimulating the economy, and they argue that that will help all of those, including those who no longer have jobs.
A lot of great reporting there from Paula Reid at the White House for us. Paula, as always, we appreciate it.